Hey friends, Shay here. So today, this video is going to be a little different than most of my normal videos. Today we are going to be talking about Magic the Gathering. I recently mentioned that I started playing, and I've gotten some questions and people who are interested in learning a little bit about what I do when I'm playing Magic the Gathering. So with that said, I have made this video for you. So in this, we're going to talk about the commanders that I like to play, because primarily I do play Commander with my partner. We're working on kind of building a group of people to play with right now, so we're having a lot of fun. I'm going to talk a little bit about the commanders that I like and the decks that I have. I'm only playing PreCons at this point. I'm not familiar enough with the game to start building my own decks. Eventually, I think that's something I'd like to do, at least for one or two of them that I think could use some smoothing out in their PreCons. But otherwise, I am very excited to share these commanders with you. So let's cut to the Shay, who's going to show you all of that. Alrighty, so first up here, we have Elvire of the Wild Court. I really love to play this Virtue and Valor deck quite a bit. And on her it says, whenever she enters the battlefield or attacks, create a Virtuous Roll token attached to another target creature you control. This virtuous roll is pretty powerful because it gives +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, and this whole deck is built around enchantments. So cheap enchantments to cast. It is a green-white deck, and this is a 4/4 that costs 4 total mana, 1 green, 1 white, and 2 more. Creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So not only is it a powerful in a go wide counter deck, but it also has a card draw engine built into it. So she's very powerful. Spouse doesn't love when I play her, even though she, I would say, is my favorite right now. She is my comfort commander. This is my comfort deck, and I really, really love her. I can play this same deck with the secondary commander as well, and that is Gilwain, Casting Director. Now, whenever he or another non-token creature enters the battlefield, I get to choose a role that they have. So they can be a royal, which is this top part of the card, where the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has ward, which is very powerful. I can give them a monster role, which gives them +1/+1 and has trample. And then the sorcerer role, I can't find the token for right now, but it also gives a +1/+1, and I forget the other mechanic. There's another mechanic. So as you're putting creatures on the board, you get to put this stuff on them thanks to Gilwain, which can be very powerful because Gilwain is a green, a white, and another mana, so he is very cheap to cast. So sometimes I will swap Elvire here out for Gilwain. And either way, Spouse doesn't love this deck. It's one of my favorites, but he doesn't love going against it because his style of play is very different than mine, but I really love this enchantment go wide style deck. It's one of my favorites. It's the Virtue and Valor PreCon. Again, I've only been playing PreCons up to this point, but I've really been enjoying them. So this is a really fun one, and I didn't spend a ton of money to get this PreCon, but the cards are very powerful, and I have a great time with it. So I would highly recommend checking this one out if you haven't. The next one I have here is Kit Kanto Mayhem Diva. She is a Catbard Druid that costs a green, a red, a white, and 1 more mana. With her, when she enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. At the beginning of combat of each player's turn, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control. When you do, target creature that player controls gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn, and you can goad that creature. So I haven't had too much of an opportunity to play her mechanics very well, because typically it's only been Spouse and I playing each other. I'm hoping to get a game planned where I've got more people here soon, so I can actually test this out in the way it's supposed to be used. Because when you're using a goad mechanic with just one other person, it's not been really great, can't lie. But I'm very excited to see what this has to offer in a wider 3 or 4 person pod where you could actually use the goad mechanic better. So This is currently my least favorite commander to play just because I haven't been in the right situation to play her well. But, I mean, she's a cat woman. I mean, I love cats, so this commander just made sense from an aesthetic point for me. So I'm very excited to play her soon. I also forget the name of her deck, but it's from the new Cabrera, I think is how you pronounce it, series. It's very 20s inspired in its aesthetic, and I really love it for that. The next one here is my Planeswalker commander. So this is Jared Carthalion. He is all 5 colors. So this is a 5-color deck. It's called the Painbow deck. This is probably my other favorite deck to play outside of Virtue and Valor. His mechanics are, if you add 1 loyalty, you create a 3/3 Kavu creature token with trample that's all colors. This whole deck is around giving extra perks for being all colors. If you -3, choose up to 2 target creatures. For each one of them, put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of colors it is. So usually what I'll do is I'll do 2 or 3 of the +1s, and then I'll automatically -3 and give a couple of them 5 extra +1/+1s, and they start out as 3/3, so they end up being 8/8s, and it kind of makes my board intimidating. The -6 is return target multicolored card from your graveyard to your hand. If that card was all colors, draw a card and create 2 creature tokens. I haven't had to use that one too much just because a lot of the stuff in the deck is very intimidating and hard to get off your board. So I really love this Painbow deck. Again, one of my favorites to play. All the mechanics work really well. Again, it's a kind of +1/+1 counter go wide situation. And I've been learning that that's kind of the style I love. The next deck I'm going to show you will kind of let you know that as well. But I think Jared is really fun to play. And again, the Painbow deck wasn't super expensive or anything. I didn't pay a ton of money for any of these. I got them either through Barnes & Noble, which does carry Magic the Gathering cards, or I've gotten them through my local game shops. So really loved that. The next commander I have here is Omo, Queen of Vesuva. So this is from the Modern Horizons 3 set. I believe this set was called Tricky Terrain, if I remember correctly. So this is a Shapeshifter Noble. When Omo, Queen of Vesuva, enters the battlefield or attacks, put an everything counter on each of up to 1 target land and up to 1 target creature. Each land with an everything counter on it is every land type in addition to its other types. Each non-land creature with an everything counter on it is every creature type. So I love the mechanics of this because you never end up in a mana drought, because the way the lands are built into this deck are ones that you can have multiple colorless mana from. So that mechanic works really well, and I haven't run into many situations where I've needed all creature types for any of the cards. But having that wide mana state with the everything counters on the mana is fantastic, and I've really enjoyed it. Again, this is 2 mana and a green or a blue, which is fantastic. So she's not super expensive to cast, and bringing her in and out just means you're putting more everything counters on things, so it doesn't hurt if she leaves the battlefield and you have to bring her out a couple of times because she is cheap to cast. And with the state of your mana board, like, it's usually not an issue. So she is very fun to play. I've really enjoyed this particular deck. Again, this is another one Spouse doesn't necessarily love coming out because of the everything counters and the fact that I have endless mana, and a lot of the mechanics of this deck just work really, really well. I think as a pre-con, it was pretty well built, and it's just a good time. I've really enjoyed playing it. And yes, I would say this is probably my 3rd favorite deck to play. The last one I have here is from what I call my Oops All Dragons deck. This is the starter commander set that features dragons. So this is Atarka, World Renderer. It has flying and trample, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. So this one is a harder commander to play just because it's so pricey. Because this is a 7 mana commander. So once it gets out on the board, it's very powerful and can very much end a game quickly. but getting it on the board is hard just because it costs so much. So unless you get proper ramp, this commander is hard to play. This deck is full of dragons and big creatures. So if you love a big creature deck, this is a great one. I think when you're just learning, this is a good deck because you kind of learn how important some of the mechanics, like having a lot of mana, are from it. But you can hit like a truck with most of the things you cast. A lot of them have trample or haste and flying, which gives you a lot of protection. So it can keep you on the battlefield in the right situations. I just have a spouse that's sneaky and loves to play graveyard or spellslinger decks. So this is a hard one for me. But I end up really enjoying it once I get it on the board. But again, this is definitely low in my ranking just because it is hard to play. And those are the commanders that I absolutely love and adore. Let me know in the comments down below how you like to play Magic the Gathering. I always love to learn more. If you're here just because you love me, leave me your favorite animal emoji because I am very excited about the new Blurm Burrow decks coming out next week, which happens to be my birthday. It's the day after my birthday that these come out. So I'm very excited to get a chance to get a new deck. I'm kind of debating between a couple of them because I'm very excited, and you know me and cute critters. Me and cute critters are just a thing. So again, leave your favorite animal emoji down below, and yeah, thanks again for watching. And if you're interested in seeing more Magic the Gathering content from me, make sure you let me know down below so that I know to make them. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.